Swami Dinamini Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharni Nirvishesha Sunyamadi Paschatya. No, you put water in it. Did you bring water? Put in it so that it gets cold. Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Gopala, Muralidhara, Madhava, Madhusudana, Damodara. Reading from Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11. What is the title of the canto? General History, Chapter 3, Liberation from the Illusory Energy, Text 38. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhirayed Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. Reading from Canto 11, Chapter 3, Text 38. I think I should get my glasses. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Na Atma Jajana Na Marishyati Naidate Asau Natma Jajana Na Marishyati Naidate Asau Natma Jajana Na Marishyasi Naidate Asau Nakshiyate sevana vid vyabhicharinam hi Nakshiyate savana vid vyabhicharinam hi Sarvatra sasvad anapai upalabdha matram Sarvatra shashvad anapai upalabdhi matram Prano yatendriya balena vikalpitam sat Prano yatendriya balena vikalpitam sam Natma jajana namarishyati naidate asau Nakshiyate savana vidvyabicharinam hi Sarvatra shashvat anapai upalabdhi matram Prano yatendriya balena vikalpitam sat Natma jajana namarishyati naidate asau Nakshiyate savana vidvyabicharinam hi Sarvatra shashvat anapai upalabdhi matram Prano yatendriya balena vikalpitam sat. Nakshiyate savanavid vyabhicharinam hi sarvatra shashvad anapayi upalabdhi matram prano yatendriya balena vikalpitam sat. Mothers, sarvatra shashvat anapayi upalabdhi matram pranayatendriya balena vikalpitam sad. Okay. Na, never. Atma, the soul. Jajana was born. Na, never. Marishyati, will die. Na, does not. Edate, grow. Asau, this. Na, does not. Kshiyate, become diminished. Savanavid, the knower of these phases of time. Vyavacharinam, as they occur in other changing beings. He, indeed, sarvatra, everywhere. Saswat, constantly. Anapayi, never disappearing. Upalabdhi matram, pure consciousness. Pranayata, just like the life air within the body. Indriya balena, by the force of the senses. Vikalpitam, imagined as divided. Sat, becoming. Translation: Brahman, the eternal soul, was never born and will never die, nor does it grow or decay. That spiritual soul is actually the knower of the youth, middle age and death of the material body. Thus the soul can be understood to be pure consciousness, existing everywhere at all times and never being destroyed. Just as the life air within the body, although one, becomes manifest as many in contact with the various material senses, the one soul appears to assume various material designations in contact with the material body. Let me read that again. Just as the life air within the body, although one, becomes manifest as many in contact with various material senses, the one soul appears to assume various material designations in contact with the material body. A very long purport is there. So I'll just read one portion. From the statement, when one becomes Krishna conscious, he is understood to be Dhira, Dhiras Tatrana Mukhyati. At that time, there is no longer subject to bewilderment by falsely identifying his consciousness with the transformations of the material nature. From the statement Tattvamasi found in Chandogya Upanishad, it is to be understood that spiritual knowledge is not impersonal, but entails gradually perceiving the pure spiritual soul within the material body. But as in Bhagavad-gita repeatedly Krishna says, Aham, I, this Vedic aphorism uses the word tvam or you to indicate that just as the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the individual spark Brahman, Tat, is also eternal personality, Tvam. Therefore, according to Srila Goswami, it is to be understood that the individual spark of Brahman is eternally conscious. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has further pointed out that instead of wasting time trying to understand the truth in its impersonal aspect, which is merely the negation of temporary material energy, one should try to understand oneself to be an eternally conscious entity in the Jiva category. In other words, one should understand oneself to be eternally a conscious servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desitarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Abba, Krishna, Amma. We are seeing the Navayogendras, who are sons of Rishabh Dev, who are greatly advanced, perfected beings, systematically explaining the various things that Maharaj Nimi wants to understand. As I said last time, these are all topics that are beyond my capacity to speak, but still we will try to speak a little bit. And this is very reminiscent of the verse. Now one of the Yogendras is explaining the nature of the soul. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. So this knowledge is being indicated. There is no positive definition of what is the soul at this stage, but they are saying the soul does not change, does not undergo birth, death, does not change from youth to what's the youth to old age, like that. So why is this negative description being given? Why can't they just say, what is the soul? You see? So this point is very important. In this particular age, there is no difference between Brahmana and Sudra, you see, Kshatriya, Vaishya, men and women. Krishna says everybody can reach perfection. Whereas in the olden days, only in the previous years, only those who are very qualified and who are willing to actually renounce the household life and follow the path of renunciation, isn't it? Apavarga, they can actually, they are qualified to read the Shastras, discuss and practice and make progress. But when you make that progress, you become a devotee in the ultimate stage and you serve Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya in this age has given that as the starting process. So whatever is the goal, sadhya, is also becoming the practice, means sadhana. Sadhana and sadhya are one and the same. But that does not mean we should think that what we are doing in the sadhana stage is all of it. There's nothing more. So it is so only those who are a little fortunate, they come to understand that I have got a great chance in this life and I should not waste time. It's very difficult. I'm saying this, but I myself can't claim that I don't waste time. But time is not to be wasted. Srila Prabhupada repeatedly quoted Chanakya Pandit saying that you cannot buy with any amount of money 1 second. It is not possible. An Ambani or Bill Gates, he cannot say, okay, I will give $500 million, just give me 1 minute time. That is why Krishna says, time am I in the Bhagavad-gita. Krishna cannot be purchased by such things. So Krishna is in the form of Kala, is undefeatable. And it is like you have to go on a journey 100 miles and the car has got petrol exactly for 100 miles. If you waste and if you go here and there, and drive the car efficiently, then 100% certain that the gasoline will be over before you reach the place and you will have to start again. So, time is very, very, very important. And in ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada has set up from morning to evening how to not waste time. But anyway, the main point is that regardless of what we are externally in the bodily plane, we can try to understand. This knowledge is not simple, you see. Nachiketu was asking Yamaraj, what is the soul, from where it comes and where it goes? And Yamaraj says, don't ask this question, this is not for discussion. So in the material world, everybody is here for eating, sleeping, mating and defending, that's all. Doesn't matter whether you are in Satyaloka or whether you are in Patalaloka, it's the same thing. Very difficult to see. Once people asked Srila Prabhupada, if all activities are only in eating, mating, sleeping and defending, what is scientific research? And Prabhupada said, sleeping. I can't claim that I understood or understand what is meant by that. But if you actually go and see science, the history of science, most of the major ideas scientists got while sleeping, in the dream, like that. Always like that. I can give examples, but I won't. Maybe I can give one example. In chemistry, there is something called benzene. The benzene has a structure like this. But before benzene was discovered, the structure, molecular structure was always linear. We'll put C, H, up, down, like that. But they could not write the structure of benzene in that form. Kekule, I think, was a chemist, and he was thinking about it, but he couldn't solve it. And one night he went to sleep, and in the sleep one snake came very fast and stopped, and the head went like that, and the tail went like that, and it formed a hexagon. And then it went away. Then Kekule realized, wow, this structure of benzene should be like. There's no explanation why he got that. Even Einstein in theory of relativity, there's something called inertial mass and gravitational field and stuff like that. He was in the patent office sleeping in an afternoon. He has written it himself. And then he saw, he was having a dream, and a very fat man went up a staircase which was ending suddenly, and then he fell down. But while he was climbing in the staircase, it was very difficult for him to climb up. His weight was like that. But when he fell, he did not feel his weight. And Einstein woke up and he realized about a freely falling body in the gravitational field, its nature. And from that the theory of relativity came, but that's a different point. All these things are all that. They call it serendipity. Similarly, the person who made the tailing machine, that is called Sringar. Sringar was making a tailoring machine, and the needle, which was like that, and there was a hole here, and he used to put the thread through the needle. But when it was actually going in and out, it broke because the needle was too long and thin. So, one night he was sleeping, he didn't know how to solve this problem. That's a tailoring machine that now it is made. In the sleep, he suddenly saw that he was in a forest, and the people in the forest, the Adivasis, were coming with a spear, trying to kill him. And so he ran, and then he came to the edge of a mountain. There was just nothing but a big fall. There's nothing he can do. If he stopped, they'll kill him. So he just jumped. And as he jumped in the air, he looked back to see whether they're coming. And those people, when they came to that edge, they threw a sphere. And when he looked back, that sphere was in the form of a needle, and the hole of the needle was in the front, not in the back. But normally in the needle, the hole is at the back. So he realized, so if I put the needle hole in the front, it can only go just a little bit, it needs to go, and it won't break. And that's how he designed. That was a dream. Like there are so many things out there. I'm not claiming this is what Prabhupada meant, but it's a fact that by sleeping. And even if you see great advancement in transportation, plane is going, but in the plane they advertise business class. ZZ they put. You can get good sleep and you travel. So like that. Anyways, Prabhupada said, so eating, mating, sleeping and defending are the only, all activities are actually under that. So it is very important. So we have to recognize that we get a chance to actually overcome this body. It's not so easy. It's not so easy. And to overcome this bodily existence, in this age, you can just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and become free. But to chant this mantra properly, one should avoid the 10 offenses. And one of the offenses is to maintain material attachment. You see. So what does it mean to give up material attachment? Because there was a Brahmana who was, when Lord Chaitanya went through his village, he was so attracted and he became Krishna conscious. Then he followed Lord Chaitanya when Lord Chaitanya left. After going some time, Lord Chaitanya turned back and said, "Why are you following me?" He said, "No, I want to come with you. I want to become a premi. So Lord Chaitanya said, but you are married, you got a family. He said, so you go back. That's when he gave the famous verse, Stane Sita Sutigatan Tanuman Manobi. Stay in your place and try to engage everything. So actually giving up the material conception of life does not mean that you should not be a grahastha, or you should be a brahmachari, or you should be a sannyasi, or this or that. It is that in your mind, after reading Prabhupada's books, there is no other way you can come to this conclusion in Kali Yuga. After reading Srila Prabhupada's books, you should come to the conclusion that the goal of my life is to become Krishna conscious, whatever that is. That goal is what you are actually doing, and in the meanwhile, whatever is needed, necessary at the bodily level, you should do it. Like if you have a goal to go from here to Nariman Point, in the meanwhile you are dressing, you are going and taking a taxi, and you are breathing, and you are doing so many things. But they are not the goal. The goal is to get to Nariman Point. Like that in your life, in my life, in our lives, our goal must be 24/7 Krishna consciousness. If I started from here and I have to go there, throughout it takes 2 hours. During the 2 hours, the goal is never changing. I have to go to Nariman Point. Like that, throughout the life, if anybody asked you, what is your goal? Trying to become Krishna conscious at any moment and every moment. Then it does not matter whether you are a grahasti, or whether you are a sannyasi, or whether you are a brahmana, or you are a sudra. It does not make any difference. Whether you are a man, or whether you are a woman, whether you are a human, whether you are a deva, whether you are a asura, nothing matters. That is called Bhakti Lata Bij. But if you are thinking externally all these activities, that's, that's not Krishna consciousness. Somebody once asked me in a class, how do I know I am Krishna conscious? I asked him, when you go out, do you see the road? He said, yes. Do you see cars? He said, yes. Do you see people? Yes. Then you are not Krishna conscious. Actual Krishna conscious people, Savara Jangama Deke na Deke Tara Murti, they do not see the creation, but they see the creator. That is the consciousness of the Goloka. Do not think that this is just some imagination. You see? But that is a very advanced topic. So you should, that is why Prabhupada writes in the preface to Bhagavad-gita, if one person after reading this book becomes Krishna conscious, I will consider my effort successful. So when you personally feel in your heart, why am I not feeling that my goal is Krishna consciousness? Why am I not always thinking like that? Then you have begun your spiritual life. Everything else is automatically taking place. You see? This is why the great sages are saying, you are not born, you are not getting old, you are not dying, because those are the activities of the body. And they will take place regardless of what you think. Whether you think you should remain young or not, you will get old. These are simple things, but these are topics of great meditation. So everybody should actually, we should not mistake this, because Lord Chaitanya and following him, Prabhupada, following the other acharyas has given the end process as the means. You see, it is only in the spiritual world that 24/7 they are singing about Krishna, praising and talking and doing service. Durapahi alpatapasam Vaikunthavatmasu. What is that verse? Yatro bhagiyate nityam deva devo janardana. Bhagavatam verse is there. Durapa hi alpa tapasam. Alpa tapasam means thoda tapas kiya hai. Such people cannot get the path of Vaikuntha, Vaikunthavat, Goloka. And what is so special about Goloka? Yatro upagiyate nityam, where 24/7 there is service to Krishna. Deva Devo Janardana, the Lord of the Lords, Janardana. So, this business of 24/7 being Krishna conscious is independent of the body. It is not executed using the body. So, these are very big topics. So, we should get interested in this knowledge. So, why is it that even though I'm not the body, subtle body and gross body, I am feeling I'm the body? This is actually the topic of meditation. You can come to the temple, you can just do dance and attend aratics and this and that. But the meditation is, who am I? And the first stop of who am I is it, why am I thinking I'm this body? You see? And this is a science. It's a science. If you don't know that, you actually will never give up the bodily conception of life. Never. So Brahmaji is called Vedagarbha, born with Vedic knowledge, because in the dark lotus flower, when he was born from Krishna's navel, he was thinking, who am I? A question that we never ask. The baby just born, Brahma, that was his first question. Then he was guided, tapa, it goes on, and you can study all this in Brahma Samhita. So, this entire purpose of life is to ask, who am I? If you think that you know it and you just go and give a class and you say, oh, the body is changing, the soul is not changing, you will waste your life. That's all right, that is prachar. So yesterday in the ISKCON bureau, I put a message. And I said that there are so many management problems. People are discussing why we are having it. One important point is that there are two things, achar and prachar. You hear it carefully, achar and prachar. I mean, this kind of verses you have to speak for years and years non-stop. Incredible. Put some water so that I can get. Thank you. I'm also nowadays getting tired. Wow. Buddy, why don't you? Gopala. What was I saying? Achar and prachar, thank you. It's very important. Prachar means preaching. And preaching is around the deity. Whatever we do for deity as a seva is preaching. We dress the deities, it's preaching. We go out and collect money, it's preaching. We go and sell books, it's preaching. We make life members, it's preaching. This is prachar. There is another thing called achar. And it is very much misunderstood in our movement. That's why I wrote that yesterday. I'll try to explain a little bit. Kindly hear, and whatever conceptions you have to give up. So, this prachar includes all the activities that we are doing now. Then what is achar? Because most people will think prachar means just going and delivering people and all that. And achar means we should practice properly, we should come to Mangala arati every day without fail, and we should chant Hare Krishna and this and that. No, that is also part of prachar. So, just as for prachar you need knowledge, you read Prabhupada's books and that is how you enter. This entire practice of Krishna consciousness is based on preaching, isn't it? And for that, Prabhupada's books are the basis when he is given. So our entire job in ISKCON is to preach, but our important is also that we practice. Not practice what is required for preaching. So that achar is different from prachar. You can do prachar without achar, you can do achar without prachar, and you can do both. And Lord Chaitanya said, all are dear to me. Those who who do only prachar, only achar, and who do both. But he said, those who are practicing and preaching are the best. Because when you preach, I don't know, people, can preach and then go back and light a cigarette or drink a glass of whiskey. Who knows? Who knows what we are doing? You see? But achar, if you have, you will never, there will be no dissonance with prachar in our life. And that is jnana vijnana sahitam. Jnana is theoretical knowledge, and vijnana is realized knowledge. And what is the realized knowledge? There is no discordance between what you are doing and what you are preaching. You see? So this achar requires knowledge, just as prachar. But that knowledge is different. It is also in Prabhupada's books, and practically nobody notices it. As much as Prabhupada talks about prachar, he is also talking about achar. So if you don't have the knowledge of achar, you cannot practice. You cannot ask, who am I? You see? Who am I is the essence of your identity, my identity. We do not know that. If you are going in the bus and somebody asks you, who are you? And you say, I don't know, you'll be considered a madman. But we are going through life after life, and if anybody asks you, who are you? We do not know. Jivera Swarup, Nitya Krishna Das. I do not know. I do not think that I am Krishna's servant, but I think Krishna is my servant. I have unlimited desires in my heart, some expressed, many unexpressed, and all this I expect it is Krishna's job to fulfill. And Krishna says, yes, I'll do it. Eko Bhagwanam yo vidadati kama. But he is doing it in a way that is the material creation with karma and everything, and it's, it's a complex place. You see? So this knowledge, achar, is not just private practice. It's a great blunder to think like that. Oh, if I practice sadhana very well, if I go to Radha Kunda and I chant 9,000 rounds. Just last Sunday, Wednesday, Prabhupada in the class said, what you will chant, you will think of women and money. Prabhupada said that. Powerful indictment from Prabhupada. So this knowledge about achar, it is not just whatever you are. It's a very great science. I'm just beginning to get into it. So this achar knowledge, it comes to you from the acharya. It cannot come from book knowledge. First of all, you will not notice. And if you notice also, you cannot understand. In other words, for prachar, book knowledge is sufficient. Please try to understand this. Whatever you have learnt is for prachar. But when you come inside the temple, you should be told, that's all right, you have read and you have understood something by your Sukriti, and you can go and also tell others, and they will also follow, because that's a system set up by Krishna and Prabhupada. But if you want to become a devotee, now you should learn a knowledge that you cannot learn by reading the books, even though it's in the books. I'll just try to give one example. Revati Nandan. So, Prabhupada, this verse says that the soul is not the body. And this is actually our basic philosophy, we think. This is Prasar book knowledge, basic for the public. But here, this is the, what time is, which year was it?
August 8, 1972, London.
1972, I think Trikram Swami will know, is Revati Nandan Swami. And he was telling Prabhupada, what is that, yesterday?
Revati Nandana, the distinction between the soul and the body.
No, before that he said, yesterday I was telling people, it's not there?
No, it's not.
Anyway, read.
Prabhupada, yes.
Wait.
Yeah.
So, Revati Nandan Swami is saying, yesterday some people came to the London temple and I was explaining to them the distinction between both soul and body. And Prabhupada says?
Yes, everything which distinguish matter and spirit.
Mm.
Revati Nandan, yes. Prabhupada, that distinction is inconceivable by you. You cannot make a clear distinction. Therefore, it is called Ajindya Beda Beda Tattva. Inconceivable, one and different simultaneously.
Ah.
Revati Nandan, sometimes people ask us, then they ask us, Prabhupada, these questions are not to be discussed in public.
Prabhupada is saying, you can't make a distinction between soul and body.
Revati Nandan.
And therefore he said that, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but then just like somebody, Prabhupada, these are very high understanding, very higher understanding.
Okay. So please try to see here. In the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita, and Prabhupada is also saying, soul is different from the body. And here Prabhupada is saying, you can't make a distinction between the soul and the body. And when Revati Nandan Swami attempts to say something, he said, this is advanced knowledge, not to be discussed in public. This knowledge you may not even notice if you read, and even if you notice, you cannot understand. You cannot give your own explanations for this. You see? I can give some explanations of this because the service I am doing in science required this knowledge and Prabhupada gave it. All this knowledge will come from service, not service that is part of Puracharya and preaching. It is from service that Prabhupada gives to you when he is satisfied with you. So, that is what I meant by saying the other day example, that if you ask, the temple president asks somebody to go and buy 10 kilos of potatoes, the brahmachari doesn't have to think, oh, I have to buy 10 kilos of potatoes, I have to now go and get a job and make money, and then I have to buy the potatoes. No. The same temple president will give you also the money. Otherwise, how can you buy it? So, when the acharya gives you service, along with the service comes the ability to do that service. So, when he told me, as he did, that you should do this scientific work for me, which is not relevant now, how he gave and all that, the ability to do that also came from him. So, out of that, so that knowledge is very, very important, and it cannot be achieved by reading books. It is in 218. Put Srimad Bhagavatam 218. We find this thing where Prabhupada says, you cannot buy the books and read. You have to learn it from a professor who is as good as Vyasadeva. So just like Prabhupada has given that same example, just like medical knowledge is in the books, but you cannot get it simply by reading the books. So this knowledge of achar, remember that both prachar and achar require knowledge. It is not that the knowledge that you acquired for prachar is also for achar. That's the important point I'm making. So if you want to actually learn that I'm not the body, that's and Am I practicing? I'm trying, not very good. But one must do it. Everything else, thinking I'm doing service, but that is, it's all disturbance. Because those will take place automatically. So you have to get the knowledge for achar. You see? This achintya, Prabhupada said, is there. The beauty of Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that it is applicable to everything. Whereas the normal Mayavadi philosophy or Vaishnava philosophy is about Jiva and God and the difference between, and if you ask what is matter, that's a different. But Lord Chaitanya's philosophy of achintya is applicable to everything, even a piece of stone. You should know that. That is actually the knowledge for achar. So, I'm writing one important paper, I'm conceiving it. And what is it? Time kya ho gaya? 8? Okay. So I'll give you one point, tough point. But the purpose of all this is that you must examine yourself, why I do not have the desire to become free from this body. Lord Chaitanya, by His mercy, has allowed us to use this body to perform service, which is actually performed by the soul. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Swaranam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Pujyam, Atmanivedanam. The soul has to give himself to Krishna. But if you are just giving the body, that Lord Chaitanya is kindly saying, yes, I'll accept. But we have to ask, why I don't have the desire to become free from the body? You see? So this is the things, for example, in the basic point. And you don't know. Therefore, the knowledge for achar is completely missing in the movement. I wrote that yesterday. Right? Prajari Prabhu, did you see my message? It's missing. People do not even know that such knowledge exists. That knowledge is the one that cannot come from reading the books, even though it's in the books, is coming from Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. Now, what does it mean, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito? I'll have to speak. So, otherwise, reading these things is not going to help you. Prabhupada has given so much treasure house of knowledge of both prachar and achar. But the achar knowledge is lost in the movement completely. So one example of that, which is coming from science, is that scientists found out, I'll just give the overall idea, that when you write 1, 2, 3, these are not numbers. These are symbols for numbers. Just like if you write A, B, C, D, they don't mean anything. It can be A, E, I, O, U. It can be anything. These are all symbols. You are just actually not symbols. The technical term is ink mark on paper. You just make some marks on the paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, or A. They don't have any meaning. They found this out. This has no meaning. Now there is an important twist. Very important twist. So when you actually write a letter to somebody, that letter goes to him. Somebody says, you got a letter. He does not mean that physical paper with ink marks, but he means the information. But where is information in those things? You see? You don't even know that such problems exist. You are writing letters, but you don't even know how you are able to write a letter and put information and send it. But that science is in Bhagavatam, and they have come to that point that we don't know. Scientists they have found out that we don't know how information is encoded. According to Bhagavatam, and I mean, I can give a long lecture on this, but I don't know because the people may not be interested. I don't know anyway. So according to Bhagavatam, which is part of my work, is that when the ink marks are seen as letters of the language, words and sentences, the ink mark is carried by the paper, and paper is matter that is conceived by current science. But the ink marks conceived as language, having meaning, is carried by paper which is made of a different matter than modern matter. This is Bhagavatam. And when you understand that, you will understand how I am not the body. So this knowledge is coming. Lord Chaitanya is bringing so that everybody can understand and accept. But you cannot know you are not the body unless you know this. You can only say. It has no value. You just go there and preach. Body is changing. I'm not. So when you realize that matter is different, and this is very important. Otherwise, you see, just like you find a bag having $1 million on the street, anybody would be tempted to take it. Even a devotee would like to take it and use it for Krishna. But suppose if it is counterfeit money, what do you say for counterfeit in Hindi? Huh? Jali. Suppose if it is jali paisa, you won't touch it because you know that if you take it and distribute it, even for Krishna, you'll be arrested because it is jali money. Like that, the material world is attractive, and if you do not know exactly how it is false, you will use it thinking I can use it for Krishna. In the process, anything can happen. But if you realize it is false and it is dangerous to use it, it's illegal, then you'll give it up. So real renunciation of the material conception of the world can come if you understand what is matter. So that is the difference between 5 elements and the 112 elements. That's a science. A very deep subject matter. And Lord Chaitanya is bringing it to the public. The entire world will actually come to know it. You see? Yeah. So, when you understand, just keep it here. You see? So I'm begging you that you try to know that there is some knowledge in Prabhupada's books that cannot be understood by reading. So there in the purport, Prabhupada says, read. He can read. You read.
Srimad Bhagavatam or for that matter any other scientific literature cannot be studied at home by one's own intellectual capacity.
It should be studied under someone has realized as Vasudev, something is there.
Medical books of anatomy or...
So Prabhupada says Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scientific literature cannot be studied at home, right? Simply by buying the books then. Or ashram. You cannot simply sit in the ashram and put your feet up and read and you think you are studying Bhagavatam.
Medical books of anatomy or physiology are available in the market, but no one can become a qualified medical practitioner simply by reading such books at home. One has to be admitted to the medical college and study the books under the guidance of learned professors. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of the science of Godhead, can only be learned by studying it at the feet of a realized soul like Srila Vyasadeva.
You have to study it under a realized soul like Srila Vyasadeva. That is that knowledge that comes in the heart. And what does it mean? Divyagyan Hriday Prakashito. Another time we have to talk. So, when you understand practically how is the material world is structured, then you will see that the I is a result of your perception. You are seeing. It is not that through the eye you are seeing. You see, this body is a result of perception. It is not the means of perception. These things should be known. So this knowledge comes from Divyagyan Hriday Prakashito. So do not think that you should be thinking, why is it that I'm so many years studying and hearing that I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul, but I'm not realizing it. You should worry. How? Because you have got book knowledge. Book knowledge is sufficient for prachar, but book knowledge is not sufficient for achar. So in order to practice Krishna consciousness, you need knowledge that is in the books, but you cannot get it by just reading. This is the Rajaguhyam secret. And it can come only from the Acharya. So in this way it is there. And when you understand by actual service and instruction in the heart. Instruction in the heart is public, it's not private. It's not some mystical thing. There's another class I'll explain. When you know that, then, you see, you come to understand how I am bound up in this material world. When they say this, you are not this body doesn't even exist unless you are perceiving it. It's all, you don't know, if you don't know those things, then we will remain a movement of neophytes. Prabhupada writes that. Prabhupada said, only if you do preaching-oriented temple activities, that is the neophyte platform. He writes that. So, do not think that these are some verses that we know. The soul is not born, soul is not dying. It's a very, very, very great knowledge which cannot be acquired by any other means than realization in the heart. And it's measurable. It is not that it's revelation in the heart means it's private. I'll have to give you another lecture. There's not enough time. So you see, we just published a paper in a journal called Biosemiotics. It was published by Springer Nature, major journal in that field. And it is titled, On the Origin of Information in Biology, Complementarity of Nucleotides as Objective Tokens and as Objective Semantic Information Carrying Symbols. This is same as this verse, Bhumi Rapo Anulo Vayu Khamano Buddhi Revacha, but it is presented scientifically. So many pages it's written, in which we have actually shown that the current atomic theory is wrong or limited. And you can do genetics with a new view of atomic theory, which is in the Bhagavatam, that I don't say here. But when one of the reviewers, because it's based on my work in physics, we applied. Then one of the three reviewers for the paper said, the post-quantum physics indicated in this paper would surely change almost everything in science, even the theory of information. But everything will change. So Prabhupada also said that if Vedas and Puranas you may accept, I may not accept, but scientific authority must be accepted. So scientists immediately they say, oh, this can change everything we have been doing in science. Everything. That's not an ordinary comment. He doesn't know me. It's a blind reviewer. I don't know him. They've sent him the paper and said, somebody has sent this paper. He's expert in the field. Please give comments. They gave. So, and he has written like that. So when I say it's coming, so the main point is that the view of matter is changing. And if you don't know that, you don't know Bhagavatam. Because when Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita 7th chapter, I shall tell you now everything, knowing which nothing shall remain unknown. The first verse is matter. Bhumi raponalo vayakamano buddhirevach. And if you don't understand it, you cannot go further. And Prabhupada said that devotees should first of all learn about matter before trying to understand spirit. So that is all there. So I hope it was useful. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your wonderful class. Just want to see whether I got you correctly towards the end, that you meant to say that pranipat, pariprashna and seva, when it is done towards bona fide pure devotees, then they impart knowledge, upadekshanti te jnanam, then we can see correctly. Then we don't
Then we can?
see correctly.
Yeah.
So that's what was the kind of essence. I want to check whether that was the essence of your talk towards the end.
No. You are just trying to fit what I said to whatever you know. No, that's not what I was saying. I am saying achar or practice of Krishna consciousness involves knowledge that cannot be obtained from the books, even though it is in the books. That's the most important point.
So that sloka 4.34 says, approach is self-realized.
Forget all of that. First you understand that there is some knowledge that you do not know, you are ignorant. Right now, you accept that. Why are you quoting Bhagavad-gita? That means already you think you know. Although you don't know, that's book knowledge. That is good for outside. You can go and say, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Here it won't work. Because you have not gotten that. So what is the use of saying that? Are you following what I'm saying? You first, that is the whole point. When I first read Prabhupada's books, I understood, I do not know. Until today I feel the same way. I started the class, I said, I'm not qualified to speak on this. You understand? You don't think like that. You agree or you don't agree? Huh? Do you think that I don't know anything, I'm ignorant?
Yes, only when spiritual master's mercy comes,
Huh?
only when pure devotee's mercy comes.
That means you know something. You are now giving big bhashya. We are talking. You have not understood, you do not know. It's not very easy. One who is in ajnana does not know he is ignorant. One who is in avidya, he knows he is ignorant. The scientists, if you ask them, they'll say, oh, we don't know so many things. They're right. Avidya. They are not fools who don't even know that we don't know. They know very precisely. I said, for the year 2000, they published a book on the status of science, and it was titled The Encyclopedia of Ignorance. They know, but you don't know. You follow or you don't follow? You do not know. You are not in ajnana. You are not in avidya. You are in ajnana. And then there is vidya. So vidya, avidya, and ajnana. Are you following? So there is no point in you saying, but when the pure devotee spiritual master gives me, you are using words that you don't know. That's very difficult. That's why I told you that is good enough for preaching. Are you following? I hope I'm not hurting you, but that's not my intent.
Not at all. You are blessing me.
Anji?
I'll talk to you after the class also.
Yeah. But it is good that you asked, because everybody can hear in the class. You have not even realized that you are ignorant. That's not an ordinary position. But I have some good knowledge that I'm ignorant. You see, it's not everybody cannot have it. I know that. So, just like you go to a doctor and he says, oh, this case is very complicated, we have to refer to a specialist. Because he knows he doesn't know, because he is educated. Otherwise, he can give opinion. So the devotees, the priests, they give opinion on everything. I have not seen any devotee who sits up and says, I don't know. Have you seen? No. Have you seen Ramrup? Anybody saying, I don't know? I think I'm the only person who always says, I do not know. Openly in a class. You talk like everything I know. So when you say Tadvidhi Pranipatena, that is book knowledge. What is practical knowledge? You have to be taught. Some of it I said, that the ink mark carrying information, the paper carrying information is different from the paper that's carrying ink marks. How are you going to know unless you are trained? I can explain everything very nice, also simply. But I don't know whether people are interested, whether it's proper to say, because Prabhupada said this should not be discussed in public. But it's a good question you have asked, and it's, we are discussing, and it's good for me also. I'm also hearing. I also must remember that I'm ignorant. Should never forget it. Yes, sir.
Prabhuji, for the soul, is it possible or is there any way that it exists without a body in this material world or in the spiritual world? For a soul, it can exist without a material body or a spiritual body?
Yeah, that is the impersonal Brahman.
Okay, yeah.
That's impersonal Brahman. But still the body is there in its seed form.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you mentioned this knowledge of Achar comes from a realized soul.
I mentioned knowledge.
Achar knowledge. Achar and Prachar.
Achar, yes, two kinds of knowledge.
So knowledge of Achar, it comes from realized soul. So,
yes.
Who is that realized soul and how this transmission of knowledge happens?
Yeah, but you are saying that the knowledge required for Achar, what is that knowledge and how does its transmission take place, correct? Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
Well, we have to discuss more. But in the moment, today at least I raised the point that there is such knowledge. That knowledge is in the books. It is not something that's not in the books. Exactly like medical knowledge is in the books. But you need someone as good as Vyasadeva. And who is as good as Vyasadeva in our life? Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's position in your life is not known to you. You do not know that they have just called it Ritvik philosophy, that some nonsense is going on. But actually, Prabhupada is there. He is meant to give this knowledge. That's why he has come. That's why he said, distribute my books. Otherwise what? In the books, page after page, Prabhupada says, you must approach a pure devotee spiritual master, and who you will approach? It is not theoretical knowledge. Just like somebody may be an engineer, like Ramarup proposed, engineer. I don't know in which college he studied. I don't know who taught him, but he studied, somebody taught, he's got knowledge. And if I'm also an engineer, I can judge. Are you following what I'm saying? It is not a matter that somebody says, oh, Prabhupada is not here. His teacher is also not here. Are you following? So the moment, are you following or not? You are not saying anything.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. These things are gone. The movement is wasting time about, oh, Ritvik philosophy or Guru philosophy. It's both bogus. So I'm sorry to say. They're all nonsense. All ignorant. That's why Prabhupada said, all fools and rascals. He's talking about us. Yes, so how to, it is not fukad, it's not asan nahi hai. Yes, what is the knowledge? How is it transmitted? How can I get? These are important questions. But in the movement, there first should be a discussion. That's what I wrote yesterday in the bureau. There is no discussion in the movement about this knowledge. There's one knowledge you can get by your own sukriti and mental power, and that's good enough to motivate you to take up the devotional service. That is prachar. And you can also tell others. You are chanting, you can also tell others you chant. But if you want the knowledge, this divine knowledge, then there's a process. So first the movement must recognize that we have not given this process to people. That is my opinion, my understanding, that's what I'm following in my life. But that's a good question. I hope I answered your question. Huh?
Yes, at least
Yeah.
understood.
It means you have to do more, you have to hear more, and I have to speak more, but ultimately there are steps. It's not private. Divyagyan Hriday Prakashita is not a private knowledge. How that's a big science I have to explain. It's public knowledge. I'll take one more question if it's there, otherwise you'll stop. Yes. Oh, I thought you had a question. Okay, yes, Ram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. First time I'm hearing knowledge about achar also required.
Yeah.
When Srila Prabhupada said,
Just 1 second before you go. I was not planning to write this yesterday in the bureau. They were talking about management problems. And suddenly I wrote and it came very well. And I thought that even for me, I did not know. I write, but so I realized that this is, Krishna wanted this to come out. And then afterwards I'm thinking more and more and I'm understanding more. But I didn't write it. So, yeah, go ahead.
when Srila Prabhupada said,
Ah.
even if one person becomes fully Krishna conscious,
Right.
I feel that my mission is successful.
Right.
Is it so difficult?
Huh?
Is it so difficult for one person to become, only one to become?
It's not difficult. He's asking the question, Prabhupada wrote in Bhagavad-gita preface, that if one person becomes a pure devotee by reading my books, I will consider my effort justified. Something similar. I'm not exactly quoting. So he's asking, is it so difficult? Which is essentially saying, why is it so difficult? Lord Chaitanya was wanting to present this to everybody, right? And the message, because we should not adulterate the message, which we have. We have made preaching the only knowledge. Whose fault is that? Our fault. And the coming generations will not do that. That is one thing. And second thing, which is more direct to your question, is that it's not difficult, but it is very difficult if you don't have the stuff.
Don't
Which
have-
is, I'm coming to stuff.
You don't.
So, which is, suppose if somebody tells you that you should love this person, it's very difficult. But if you love that person, you'll do everything. So that love for Srila Prabhupada, that's what he's basically saying. If one disciple asked Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, is it true that, you love all your disciples? Prabhupada said, if you love me, Not that that means that he doesn't love unless you love. If you don't love him, you will not know that he loves you. The same thing with Krishna. How much love Krishna has bestowed on the material world. I mean, once you understand, everything is Krishna, You see, you take tennis, Rod Laver is a great tennis player, Ken Roswell is a great tennis player, there is Federer is a great tennis player. All is Krishna. For each person, it's uniquely manifesting is Krishna. Muhammad Rafi is a great singer. Oh, the Talat Muhammad is a great singer. This is a great singer. This Kantasala is a great singer. All is Krishna. Nobody is doing anything. There are thousands of mathematical journals on which there are thousands of papers. Everything is written by Krishna. It's not only that Prabhupada wrote books and Krishna wrote it. That he knows, but for everything is Krishna. The pig is Krishna, and the horrible substance it eats is also Krishna. Just yesterday, I read Prabhupada saying, Krishna's genius is not one-sided. He's not only in mode of goodness. He's also in mode of passion, and he's in the mode of ignorance. All evil, everything is from Krishna. Prabhupada wrote. That's Krishna. So, anyway, so you see, what is that? Not love Krishna. But we cannot. Whose fault is that? Our fault. So this knowledge and all will help us to understand Krishna. It is not meant to say, oh, you don't know something, I know something. No, I'm openly admitting. I also don't know. Only yesterday I realized this. By way of writing. So when we write for Krishna, then we realize. Prabhupada said transcendental literature cannot be written unless ordered. It's not that I said I'll write something and it came out. Krishna says, I want this to be. So, that love, why we cannot love Krishna? It's a sick condition. For that, because over many, many lifetimes we have forgotten how Krishna. In the Bhagavad-gita, he says, I'm everything. Rasoham apsukya kaunteya pravasmi sasisurya. I am the sun and the light. I am the light and the sun and the moon. Everything is Krishna. So how much love he must have that he has produced so many varieties for so many people. That's a separate topic about Krishna's presence in the material world. Sukadeva Goswami in the second canto is freaking out. So, you see, these are all, we have to hear. There is nothing to read, and only by hearing we can progress. The source of hearing is, of course, Prabhupada, but one has to love him, otherwise we cannot get that knowledge. How to love Prabhupada? No, that cannot be taught. A college student cannot go and say, oh, that girl, how to love her. What is it? Nothing more. So it's a great process, Krishna consciousness. And at the center of it is Krishna and the Acharya. And we must love them. And the first step is to love the Acharya, Prabhupada. That's all, there's nothing else. We have lost everything. So we are just with preaching, which is a neophyte platform. We are staying, building temples. Oh, he has built a big temple. That's good. But that's a neophyte platform. But if you say that, they'll kill you. But Prabhupada has written it. Temple worship is neophyte platform. That does not mean that's something inferior or something. That's a beginning. Just like if somebody introduces you to Modi and you say, hello sir, that's the beginning. You got to go. So temple worship is the beginning of the Acharya introducing us to Krishna. This is much, much more. Am I making sense? Anybody else has any other question? Otherwise, we'll stop. Yes, you. Well, I thought you had a question last time, but you gave it to him.
That's why. Hare Krishna. So the verse that you showed,
Loud.
The verse that you showed at 2.1.8, I also saw one more quote by Srila Prabhupada in his letters, and I'm just trying to see how to reconcile the two statements. So this is the letter that Prabhupada wrote. I'll just quickly read it. I'm pleased to hear that you're chanting 16 rounds daily and reading my books regularly and following the 4 rules. In my books, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is explained fully.
Yes.
So if there is anything which you do not understand, then you simply have to read again and again. By reading daily, the knowledge will be revealed to you, and by this process, your spiritual life will develop. So how do we reconcile these two statements? I mean, I completely understand what you have shown, that it's very revelational. You know, the 2.1.8, where Prabhupada says that you have to, sit at the feet of a pure devotee and understand this. It's not bookish knowledge. But again, we have many statements from Prabhupada in his letters and in his books where he says that you have to read repeatedly, again and again, and then knowledge will be revealed to you.
Okay, read. Read. Be satisfied with that.
No, I'm asking a question. I'm not. I'm trying to understand. I'm not saying that this is the way, but I'm just trying to understand. How do we reconcile the two statements?
No, you see, the revelation has come to you or not? That you have to. So I'm saying, and this is revealed knowledge. So why do you have to challenge it? Why do you have to doubt it? If Prabhupada says revealed, how is it going to be revealed? You have to love him, and you have to do Prabhudatta Seva. These are all I've explained. This is book knowledge. You just read it and you're trying to understand on your own. How to reconcile this? Reconcile what? Oh, he's saying that it will be revealed. But you are saying that, what am I saying? I'm also saying it's revealed. No, you're saying it's in the book, but you cannot, just by reading the books, understand it. But Prabhupada is saying again and again you have to, yes, you have to read again. When it will be revealed. But that process requires other conditions. You have to love His divine grace. I once told somebody, Prabhupada is more real to me than my body. Do you have that love? Then you talk. The contradiction you see is imagined. Are you following? This disease should go that, the books are there, I'll just read and that's enough. Then you don't need a spiritual master. And nor does somebody just by saying I'm a spiritual master become a spiritual master. Authorized in the heart. But what does it mean to reveal in the heart? Anybody can say I have been revealed something in the heart. So revealed in the heart is a public process, not private process. You know that? And that is another science that has to be discussed. Anyway, it's a big thing, but sometimes I get a little upset because in the moment everybody has been kept ignorant. How long you have been coming?
Almost 12 years. Almost 12 years.
12 years. You don't know, and you'll never know. That's why many times I'm angry. Why is it that, the proper knowledge is not given to people? Anyway, sorry to be so explicit or open or something like that. These are all good questions. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi.